Hi, welcome back to Spring CS170. Just a couple of housekeeping items before I get into Chapter 2. Some people were asking about recitations for this week. Again, on the announcements here, and you see that there's a whole bunch of announcements coming out. On your side, you shouldn't see that many announcements, not as much as I do at least, because I see all of the announcements. Um, so for the announcements that you should be seeing, it would be relevant to either your recitation or to the lectures that are under my sections. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes people post out to more sections than they're supposed to, but from what I can see here, it looks like everybody's posting out to the sections that they're supposed to, which is good. I post out a lot of stuff because, as I said before, I post out an announcement every time I record a different video clip, which as you may have noticed, I try to chop them up into small video clips. But you can see here, like, you know, Sai, Weiji, a few of these other TAs have been posting out about their recitations and whatnot. So you should be seeing an announcement from your TA soon. You should get something that you should be able to watch this week. Um, and you know, if you're not, then make sure you let me know. Now, let me see. I started filling out on my page. You can start seeing that I posted up these videos. So these are the links actually to the YouTube videos here. And then here is the media gallery. Let me just hop over to media gallery for a second, where as soon as this pops up, where you can see I've grouped a playlist. There's only one playlist so far, obviously, because this is the first week. So you'll see the playlist, and you can just hop to whichever one you want to hop to. Right? I tried to make the names of each of the clips somewhat self-explanatory. So yeah, so the first couple were the logistics ones, the intro, we did the early computing, and then we finished up chapter 1 with the software stack and the algorithm. I'm going to go into chapter 2 soon, and then I'll add on to all of this. Okay, so hopefully that's all clear. Now, there was a question that came up from some people who were pretty quick to notice. Um, Obviously, we've taught this class before, so there are videos that are out there, like on my YouTube list from last semester, or even if you go into a media gallery for last semester, you'll see my videos, which is fine. The content is obviously pretty much the same. So if you really are keen on going ahead and looking at some of the other videos, you're welcome to do that. I will post the PDFs and other supporting material only as I go through the material during the course. Um, the only caveat I would say is that I do try to tailor the lectures or emphasize different points based on feedback, right? So we might be covering particular topics. So you might see in the schedule that we're going to be doing like um, conversions, numerical conversions, right? So this first week is mainly I kind of draw I draw the analogy to a history class, right? So you learn a lot of different uh, topics, and some of them there's like some general dates that are associated with it. Once you get into like the uh, conversions, you get into HTML, you get into JavaScript, later on is the Excel stuff. It's more mechanical type of stuff. So you learn how to do something, and then you save up examples and whatnot, which is what I usually recommend. So it's a different type of studying or a different type of thinking. Um, I find that's usually where we encounter some challenges. And so, there might be some particular lectures where I'll get a whole bunch of feedback saying, people are having some confusion on doing something particular in JavaScript or whatever. And then I'll try to shape the lecture or the examples around that more. So even though the content is the same from prior years, um, some of the emphasis might be a little bit different based on feedback that you all are providing me. Okay, so that's the only caveat. But other than that, if you feel like watching those other videos, you want to move ahead, you're interested in a particular topic, you're more than welcome to do it. It's not really necessary. That's your call. Okay. But like I said, one thing I would emphasize to you, and which is why I encourage you to provide me your feedback, is that I do try to tailor the emphasis of the lectures, or I try to, put up some ad hoc lectures based on feedback from you. If there's a whole bunch of people having some problems on a particular topic, I'll try to drill down into it or provide more reading materials associated to it. Okay? Anyway, I'm not going to dwell on that too much. I've already spent a lot of time on that. Let's get into chapter 2. Okay? So chapter 2 basically deals with, it says human-computer interface. I look at it as just, it's the interface, right? So when you want to access whatever applications or whatever functions you want a computer to do, what is the thing that you see, right? It could be a screen, right? Let's say a screen on your computer right now. It could be your mobile screen, your cell phone, things like that. How do you interact with it? And in our case, we're talking about how do we interact it from a business computing perspective. Okay, so you can see here on the right, I'm not going to really read this. That was the other thing I want to mention. Some people asked about. I'm not necessarily always going to repeat or just read every single thing that's on the PowerPoint, right? Because if I did that, you might as well just look at the PowerPoint. You don't need me to have a lecture. So sometimes you might see me refer to different things or talk little side topics that's related to these topics, but I don't have it anywhere on the PowerPoint. Right, so last lecture I was talking about abstraction, and I talked about how you can think of, let's say, the brakes on your car, stopping your car, um, how you look at it by you stepping on the brakes as a level of abstraction, right? That's not anywhere on the PowerPoint. Um, so these are type of things that I would just give you a caveat that everything that I speak about in the lecture, I try to add a little bit more color to it. So I try not to read verbatim off of the PowerPoint. I use the PowerPoints really just to kind of keep me on a certain track and just for me to refer to. And then I'll post out a PDF with the PowerPoints that you can refer to off of my materials. Um, but I'll be talking some stuff that won't be on the PowerPoint. Should be related, I hope. Okay, so just another aside there. So anyway, you can see here on the right, there's all these different topics here, right? And we try to put these different things here just to say these are important things, i.e. they're going to be covered in the exam, that you should be paying attention to, okay? Understand what these different things mean, okay? And we're going to step through it. All right. So, I mean, you can call these buzzwords or whatever, but you kind of seen all these different things here related to technology, right? You can call them technology innovation or evolution, whatever. But these are things that I would say are consumer focused, right? When you look at computing technology, it covers like a whole bunch of different things. Some of it is not totally apparent to you, right? It's maybe more apparent to, um, either research or business or whatever. And then there's like the consumer type of stuff that you all are aware of, right? Every day you probably wake up, you do something on your phone, you're probably doing something on social media. Um, so it's those type of things that you touch and feel. You go down to Starbucks and you connect up to the local Wi-Fi as an example, right? Whatever. You back up your pictures onto the cloud. That's what this thing on the bottom left here is. All that kind of stuff, okay? So what's important here? Human-computer interface, right? And I think this is really, it's really opened up in recent years because of the power of technology. In the beginning, right, everybody just looked at a text-based computer screen, right? It was way long time ago, right? and you would just type stuff, and that was it. There was no mouse, there's no GUI or anything, right? But as technology has evolved, computers gotten more powerful, things have gotten smaller. Um, the interface has, I think most people would objectively say, has gotten better, right? Um, and so it steps into an area of study that people might call user experience, right? UX, right? You'll see a lot of people referring to that. Okay, and so what is that? What does that cover, right? So what this is sort of like a Venn diagram trying to show you the intersection of looking at the, how pleasant does it look, um, and the usability, uh, and then how does a person feel from using it, right? And I don't know if you really thought too much about it, but there's a lot of science that goes into this, right? It's a field of study. Uh, as more and more people are doing stuff on the computers, e-commerce as a big example, but just about all aspects of your life, you're touching the computer, and people are looking to get certain things out. Like generally, from a consumer standpoint, generally it's an e-commerce thing. People are trying to make money, right? Uh, and for most of you, and I probably put that as an extra credit question. Um, I look at the example of Amazon, right? The user experience that they've done, right? So of course, there's a lot of other things that Amazon has done to be successful, right? But I think one of the key things that they are a leader in over the years has been the user experience, right? And there's a lot of angles to that, right? Uh, you know, they, it's debatable, but I think they essentially came up with the one-click experience, right? At the beginning, they used to have like all kinds of e-commerce sites where you just clicked all over the place, right? It was like pulling teeth to be able to order an item or to order an item over again. Um, Amazon made it so easy for you to be able to order almost anything that you want, right? So yes, on the back end, in terms of like how they're able to manage the logistics and whatnot, that's all important. But they've been pretty much at the leading edge in terms of the user experience side of things. And I'll point to a couple of things as we go. But Amazon ticks off a lot of these different things over the years, right? Uh, okay, so when you look at computer features, what are the different things you're looking at? So one of them is feedback, uh, and then you have a consistent interface, and then perfect reproduction, and then you have placeholders. So let me go into that. Okay, so feedback. What is feedback? You can imagine this, right? This is especially common in the old days, but even a little bit now, right? In the old days, maybe you had to save something or you had to download something. Probably download something is very common back in the old days where it would just take ages to download something. And without proper feedback, you have no idea, well, how much longer is this going to take? Is it even working? Is something happening? Right? I'm downloading a file, um, and a very poor feedback or poor interface would be you fire it and you just sit there and hope that it comes back. Right? A good interface might be maybe it shows hourglass, maybe it shows you a progress bar to say this has started downloading, you've downloaded halfway, you still have another 50% to go, something like that, right? It doesn't really change how long it takes to download. The download is still the same, right? But the fact that you're getting feedback, something is happening, and about how much longer it's going to take, has a huge impact on the psyche of whoever the user is, right? Um, people get very fidgety and get very nervous on things, right? And if they don't see some feedback, they get very irritated, right? That's a very bad interface, right? Um, so, I won't dwell on this more. There's a lot of instances in real life where you look at feedback as an important thing, right? And yeah, I won't dwell on that. So let me move on to the next thing here. So yeah, So like I said, here's the hourglass, right? So the cursor changes to something different when it's doing some work, right? In this case, it's the hourglass, right? Or you have this little thing where it's kind of spinning and processing. And this is a spinner, right? And then you have this thing for saying to move it somewhere, right? So saying, okay, let's say I clicked on a picture or icon or something and I'm kind of dragging it somewhere else. This little thing tells you that that's what you're doing, right? Um, you can provide feedback, right? Here's things like the email. You have some sound that you can have, right? And then, like I mentioned before, you can have a progress bar, right? And it gives an estimate on the time remaining, right? You can look at, there's a whole bunch of information here if you really look at this, right? It's telling you what you're getting, right? This is an MP4 file. How much time is left, tells you at the rate, right? You probably know this. You see this number go up and down depending on how good or bad your internet is. Sometimes it feels like my internet is really bad. But you know, you see all of this information. It's actually a lot of information in a relatively small space here. And so this is like a pretty good example of feedback, right? And you know, like I said, the time doesn't change, but just providing this information gives the users a better sense of or better user experience. Okay. Now, what's a consistent interface? Consistent interface would be something like if many of you use like Microsoft Office, right? As you know, the university provides you a Office license, right? Whether you're on a Mac or you're on a PC. Uh, Everything looks the same, right? Regardless of whether you're on PowerPoint, you're on Excel or whatever, when I hit file or I do edit or I do cut, copy and paste, it all works the same, right? It's just doing it in different applications, but it all works the same. I can copy from one thing to another. It all kind of hangs together in what we call a consistent interface, right? So it's not like, well, when I save a file for Word, it works differently on PowerPoint or Excel, right? That would probably drive you batty if you had like inconsistent interface. To have a consistent interface, again, makes the usability easier. So if they come out with something else, you can pick it up very quickly. You're so used to it already, right? So that's what's meant by a consistent interface. You don't even need to read an instruction book, right? Because you've done all the other products before, you jump into this, and it's easy for you to figure out. It's quote unquote intuitive, okay? I'm not going to read through all of these. I think you can see all of these different things. It kind of alludes to what I was just talking about. So this is what I was talking about with the file, right, as an example, right? Uh, this is creating a new instance, right? So whether it's a new Word document, a new contact, new calendar appointment, it's under File menu and New, right? And it's called a new instance, okay? And this is what I was referring to as the command line interface or the text-based interface, right? I mean, it was even worse than this. This is even actually not too bad, right? Uh, you know, you have these function keys and whatever. It used to be even worse than that. Um, so text-based, the bottom line is interface. As I said, the interface has gotten a lot better because of technology and the capabilities that we have now. Um, so this is kind of like halfway through these slides. I'm going to take a pause here, and then I'm going to cut a new video to pick up from essentially the GUI side of things that you can see down here. So I'll catch you in a little bit with a new lecture. Thank you.